Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, October 8th. I cannot believe it's already 1 week into October and we've got Thanksgiving Monday coming up. So we've already got a holiday coming up, and the fall is in full effect. It is yellow and orange outside. The leaves are falling, and it is a gorgeous time of year. It's still quite nice to be outside for a walk, too. So today I am going to talk to you about our market stats and also talk to you about what's happening this fall in our real estate market. We've had about a month and a bit into our fall market. I will be doing a September market stats video here soon. So you'll be, if you want to tune in for the full review of the month, that should be coming to you probably next week. Now, if we take a look at the current active listings in Edmonton, there are just a little bit more than last week. So this has been the trend for, if you've been following along, the last probably 2 months. Now, this is normal because, for one, our inventory is extremely low. Having this little houses for sale for single family homes is what is causing the market to still be what we call a seller's market because there's not a whole lot of options. Now, that being said, sellers trying to sell their house for a lot more money than what it's worth, there is some ability to push it, but not that much because buyers are not going to overpay that much. I mean, that being said, we have seen prices go a lot higher than they normally have. And I'll show you that here in a minute. If you're watching live and there's certain areas that you're looking at in the West or Southwest, because that's where I'm focusing, let me know and I will focus in on those communities specifically. If you put them in the comments, I'll be able to pull them up. Now, in the surrounding areas in Edmonton for active listings, you will see here on the stats that it really doesn't change week over week. You've seen that every time. There's such a smaller pool of just the geography. It's much smaller. That's why you don't see a huge variance. But I do show this to you because it is quite a bit stronger. Now, St. Albert went up by a whole 23, or sorry, I can't do the math, 17 listings. Sherwood Park is pretty much the same, and Spruce Grove just a little bit. So nothing too crazy when it comes to active listings. It hasn't seen an increase. We want to see the increase in listings, and we want to continue to see the sales where they are at. If the sales stay where they're at and the listings go up, we will have more of a balanced market. If the demand continues to increase, even though the listings are increasing and they're not keeping up, we're still going to be in a seller's market. Now, typically in October and November and December, we see the listings on the market slow down. Now, you're saying to me, well, Melody, they're not really slowing down. That's because we're so low. If we see the listings jump 2 times higher than they are in the next 2 months, which is probably not going to happen, that will auto correct the market. But right now, I'm not foreseeing that it's going to do a huge jump like that, especially because we're entering into the quieter months and we may see a bit of a busier new year as the rates continue to drop in the next month, 2, 3 months. So how many listings went into contract in the last week? Pretty much very similar, nothing too insane. Went slightly down lower last week. And then you can see all of in the surrounding areas, nothing too crazy there, too. These are single family homes that are pending. Now, these are the sold, which had conditions removed, and you see the number drop a little bit. Again, this is not always the same number as the pending because sometimes pending deals last 2 weeks or some of them fall apart because the buyers can't get financing. So that's also why. If you take a look at last year, I always like to look at the last year's number because I think that's interesting. This year versus last year, we're still higher in sales. Take a look at that. Last year, we were quite a bit lower in sales. And don't forget, last year we had higher interest rates. So that's part of it. But if you look at the surrounding areas, they're pretty much almost on point with the exception of Spruce Grove. And like I mentioned, I think Spruce Grove has really seen a resurgent, if that's the right word, in the last year because there's not a whole lot of affordable options. And that's one of the areas that has become more affordable and more people are going out there. So I'm going to show you a map and then we're going to dive into, I'm also going to be looking at your comments. So if you have any comments in terms of what you'd like to see, let me know. So we'll take a look at the Edmonton map here. Interestingly enough, this is also the traffic at the moment. It is 9:20 here, and so traffic is pretty decent. And you see those yellow spots? That's the Yellowhead. That's construction. We've had construction here for a very long time. I don't even know when we haven't had construction there. So the areas that I'm going to be covering on this channel are always the west and southwest quadrants. That's typically where I focus. So if you'd like to know anything about these specific neighborhoods, let me know. So here is where we're going to go into. And the river valley runs through the city, and this is where it's gorgeous right now. Tons of leaves, tons of it just looks gorgeous at this time of year. And anybody who lives close to this area knows that because they can just go for a walk outside. So one of the popular areas in Edmonton is the Westridge Park stairs. So there's our stairs right over here. You can go in from Oleskew too, but you can also go in from Westridge. There we go. Stair access. I want to show you this because, oh, maybe they don't have all the photos. Um, this is not where I wanted to see. There are 200 stairs that people, oh, here it is, that people can go up and down. That's the view from the top of the stairs and down. Now, it wouldn't be green right now. It'd be this gorgeous yellow red. And if you took a look at this picture, you can see the footbridge here. It is a beautiful place that you can kind of just enter into from the city, in the city, because you can see um, it is in the city, but sometimes you don't feel like you're in there. And so it's one of my favorite areas. And what can you buy in this area? So you've got Westridge, which is the direct access to Wolf Willow, and you also have Oleskew. It's also known as the Country Club. So let's take a look at what is happening there. I'll show you what is for sale in both neighborhoods. And then I'm also going to show you what's sold because that's also really important to understand the value there based on that. So currently there's only 7 properties, both active and pending, and it's actually really hard to get properties in this area no matter what the market is. When the market is flat like it is now, it's even harder. So what you need to do is typically set up a safe search with an agent, and when a listing pops up, you better run and go get it. So it's important to work with an agent in these areas here. So let's take a look at the houses here. They range from 549.8 to $2.3 million. You can see the size of the home is quite different. There's only one property in Westridge. It's really hard to get into Westridge. That's also known as Wolf Willow. That's where the stairs were. And Oleskew also has entrance to those stairs. Instead of stairs, it's a big ramp. And that's in the higher end area as well. And that's the country club. There's also a golf course there. Westridge, take a look at the one listing that we have available right now for 1.2. I've actually seen this house on the market. So this is an infill product because most homes in Westridge look like this. 2-story or 1.5-story where potentially they're renovated or they've been infilled, but infilled more like the, what do you call it? It's more like a arts and crafts style. So Souk, I don't know where the quarry landing is not in the areas that I'm covering. So west, southwest is the areas that I am doing. So if you want to take a look at Quarry Landing or the Horse Hills area, I'd highly recommend taking a look at some other YouTube channels for that. We do cover west and southwest. Or if you send me a message, I can connect you with an agent and they can send you all that information. So in here, this is a brand new build. I have seen this listed for a while. And so the question is, why has it been on the market so long? Well, at 1.25 million, if you're watching from Toronto or Vancouver, you're thinking this is a huge house for 1.25 million. But for Edmonton, I don't know. And we have to see the house itself. Now, I think it looks pretty nice in here, but the layout might not just be for everyone. And we'd have to take a look and see. There's no carpet in this house, which I know is a criteria for some people. And let me see if I can show you. I was going to show you the map. Now, if we take a look at Oleskew, you can see there's 549. What does that get you? This is a split level, more of a traditional layout of what you see in this area, but you see they've actually updated the kitchen. So they put in new kitchen. There's not much of a yard there, it looks like. And they didn't take walls out. So it's pretty much the original layout, it looks like, and they've updated the kitchen and bathrooms. Some of the houses have been a full gut reno, and those ones just floor you and take your breath away because it's got the character of the old home, but then the amenities and nice new finishings. This is obviously still old on the 3rd level here, the split level. 4-level splits have 4 different levels, exactly what it sounds like. So that is what you can get for 549.8. It just came on the market 2 days ago. I don't know if that's going to last. It seems pretty darn affordable. Now, this one is also here. Now, I want to show you something here for a second. You see this driveway? In Alberta, in Edmonton especially, this is very typical that an older driveway is going to have seen better days. We have weather that is plus 40 and minus 40. So you would bet that things like this are going to happen, that it will drop. You can see they've put in a new sidewalk here, right here. It is not cheap to get new concrete in. This would be, as time progresses and it continues to sink, it can cause issues, but it's also very doable to shovel the snow. So it's not the end of the world. I like how it shows you the lot size here. Now, a lot of properties, especially in the new areas, don't have lots like this. And in this older area, you've got this. You can see this neighbor has a huge backyard. This one's still quite large. It's called a pie. I know it doesn't really seem like a pie. Maybe it's more irregular because I think pie is more like a pie shape. And you can see where it backs onto. There's lots of it's quite quiet here. You will hear likely the white mud close by. It's kind of hard to avoid that sound. But honestly, if you look in anywhere in the city, usually to hear some sort of street noise. So you can see this is the house, and then this is the playground and the tree area, and there's like a big green space here and the river. So it might look far, but it's actually not that far of a walk. If you were to walk, a lot of times since we live in the suburbs, we drive to this area to enjoy the neighborhood and walk around. So this is the view of the backyard. So for $549, not bad. And then inside, you can take a look. See, I think this is a really cool feature back in the day that they did, and I've seen a lot of people whitewash that so that it looks nicer. Hi, Laddie. I can definitely go over Seacourt Heights after I finish looking at this house. So you can see here that they've got oak in here, which is quite typical. These windows are all original. Carpet's probably a little bit older too. You see the curved walls? That would have been so expensive to do back in the day. It still is expensive now to do in the days. Curved staircases, curved everything is not what you see usually. See, there's your 90s special with the sunshine ceiling and the cabinets. I remember this from my old house. That is OG for the 90s. But this house was not built in the 90s. So it was probably renovated. Although let me just double check to see when it was built. It was built in the 84. So realistically, it probably is the original. Probably never has been changed. So you can see that. Give you a taste and a flavor of $549 in Oliskew in Country Club, and then it jumps to $819. You're thinking, well, what's that going to get me for $300, almost $1,000 more? It's been updated. So can you buy that other house, flip it, and sell for $300K more? I'd be careful of that. But there is potential. You just got to make sure you run the numbers and look at apples to apples in terms of square footage and size. Okay, so Laddie is this person's been so patient, waiting to see something about Seacourt. So we're going to look at the Seacourt area. Oh, before we look at the Seacourt area, I did not show you the solds, which is actually important. I just showed you what's available, which you can already see for yourself. Let me just show you what has sold in the last 30 days in these two areas. The sold price from $690 to $1.775 million. You can see there's not a whole lot that's sold over the last 30 days. And if I go back 6 months, we've had 30, so that's quite a bit. Let's do 60 days. So 5 properties in here. And then you can see that. All right. Tony, I will talk to you. I'll answer your question after I talk about Seacourt. So let's take a look at Seacourt. Oops, that is not the one I want to show. This is the one. So let's take a look at Seacourt area. And Laddie, what is it that you're looking for specifically in Seacourt? Are you looking at single family, like a duplex, townhouse, or are you looking at a house with the garage in the back, or are you looking for the garage in the front? Seacourt in general is an area that has been started, I would say, just around 2006. So it's just over 20 some years old, almost. It's hard to believe that's almost 20 years old. And I'm just going to show you the sold in the last 30 days. So there's 9. September is quieter, and you can see that. So the range is from 380 to 738. Now, 700s are usually quite high for Secord. If you take a look, you can't see the screen; it gets cut off. But right under 615, then it's a 738. Typically, you'll see the majority of homes are selling in the 4 to 5s, and there are some that sell in 6, but like there's only one house, and you can see it was on the market for 116 days. So it is not an area where you want to spend too much money. However, that being said, the new builds are in that price range of 6s and 7s. So you can see in the resale market how it does not reflect that. If we go back 6 months, there's 113 properties that sold in Secord to give you a better span, and it's from 349 to 740. So, like I said, see how it doesn't really change. And if we take a look all the way down to the bottom, only out of all those 113, three properties sold over seven, and one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, nine properties sold over six. So you're much better off keeping your price point in the fives and the fours. So if you have a property in the fives and fours value, you're going to sell your property pretty quickly. Houses over 6 and 7 definitely need a more strategic marketing plan when it comes to that. So I want to talk about this question, Tony. We're considering a rural property about 30 minutes southeast. So like I said earlier, I focus on Southwest and West and Edmonton neighborhoods in the city. My question to you is, are you looking outside of the city for affordability sake? Now, a lot of people, they look at location, price, and type of home. Those are the three things. Then when they realize I can't get $1 million house for 300,000, they think, okay, I'm going to move outwards because location is going to dictate how much things are worth, right? So if you are looking at southeast, my question to you is, are you looking because of affordability? Because also you need to consider the schools. The pros of I honestly, I'm going to be biased. I don't live in the rural areas. So pros, I'd have to go with my husband and my friends who have lived in rural, which is just the privacy, quietness. That's kind of, I think, the pros. You being so far away, especially if you have a family, that is quite a bit of issues with it when it comes to that. Oh, land size. Well, but what is it like if your family is looking to move there for land size? Then that's a whole obviously you can't get that in the city. You can't get 3, 5, 10 acres in the city. But there's a cost that comes with it. Anything close to the city is going to cost you more money because of the amenities and how close it is. If the further out you get, the more affordable it becomes. But then you are maybe trucking in water. You maybe have to maintain a well. There's a whole bunch of things that you have to look at. Don't forget, if you're not from Alberta, it's cold. So you're going to be inside unless you want to be, I guess, cross country skiing. My in-laws used to live on 20 acres, and sure, it was nice. It was nice to visit it, but it's a lot of work to maintain. By the time my husband used to finish painting the fence, it was time to do it again. And you would spend a lot of time mowing the lawn. Obviously, some of the land is not mowed, but there's definitely a lot of maintenance involved in there and a lot of things that happen. And if you have young children, just make sure, I mean, if you're going to be country people, then maybe you're going to be okay with the coyotes and the wildlife that are back there, that your pets might not be alive. But also you want to think about if you have children, hey, where are my kids going to go to school? Are you okay with busing them? Are you okay with doing the rural schools? Those are different than the city schools. Um, there's so many things like this. The houses over there are different too. Is it actually concrete foundation? Is it wood foundation? Or like that's not a good idea. There's also the EIFS foundation. There are so many things to consider when it comes to rural. It's not just about land. That's why you'll see a lot of people buy those bigger homes with like 1, 2 acres close to the city, comes at a price tag, but then it has all the amenities of the city still within the city. So you pay for that, but you got to pay for something. You're either going to pay in money or you're going to pay in location, availability to amenities, or you're going to pay in terms of how old the house is and the work that is going to be needed to get done there. So hopefully that answers your question about rural. That's why I focus on residential. I was born and raised in the city here in Edmonton, always in the west side. So why am I biased towards it? Because I grew up here. I grew up here and was raised here and live and breathe the west and southwest areas, mostly the west end. West is going to be more affordable than the southwest. And there's lots of new home options. Today I covered some of the older areas like Westridge and Olive, which are classic. A lot of people want to get in. Now, if you're a first time home buyer and you're thinking, how do I get into this neighborhood? Your strategy potentially needs to be something that is you're buying a home that kind of rises at the same equity level. What does that mean? If you buy a property that's brand new in, let's say, Rosenthal or Secord, the value does not rise as quickly as if you were to buy a home in the older area where you could renovate and build equity. And so, therefore, you could actually get more down payment, equity build, home equity build to get into your dream neighborhood. So there needs to be a really like a plan put in place to work with your realtor on a long-term basis of what your plan is. Make sure when you talk to your agent, you don't just say, I'm looking for a house in this price point. You're saying, well, one day this is my goal. So what areas should I be in? What price point should I spend to then get to that goal? Tony, a detailed inspection, of course, is important, but that's not going to cover everything. If you have you ever lived in the country before? If you have never lived in the country before, I'd really highly recommend against it because you need to talk to more people. Talk to more people who live in the country, get familiar with it. Maybe you should rent in the country and see if it's for you. It's a huge investment if it's not something you're familiar with or used to. There are so many different things. I don't know if you're from Alberta. There's so many things to consider when it comes to weather, house maintenance. Think about this. If you never owned a home before and you used to just rent and you were not responsible for anything in the house, and now not only you're responsible if something happens with your house, like the roof or the windows or the furnace or the sewer line or all those big things, you're also responsible for the well and the water and the land and all of the things that come with it. Is something that you'd really need to consider. And I would highly consider some strong advice that you get from a professional to guide you through that process. Back over to what I was talking about before, which I now have forgotten. I was talking about getting into a resale area. If you're looking to get into one of those higher demand neighborhoods, yes, you need a plan. Also, you need to be starting to educate yourself on what are the sold prices. The longer you wait, the more it's going to cost. It's not going to cost less. So if you're thinking, I need to save up more down payment in order to get into that home, maybe the step isn't to actually save a down payment to get into that home. Maybe it's what is my down payment going to get me for a house right now so I can build the equity because that is going to grow my money faster than it just sitting in an account. Unless you have some aggressive, risky financial investment that has a high double digit return, but then you have the risk of losing that as well too. So take an advantage of different ways and strategies that you can get into your dream neighborhood. If you're watching from out of town and you can afford those areas, buying a house in the River Valley area, I always say, is a market economy safe property because no matter if the market's up or down, those areas always stay very strong. And if you do renovations to the property, it definitely will return a lot more than what money you put in. So, next week when we talk, I'm going to chat with you for probably quite some time because I will not be around for the next 2 weeks, the end of October. So when I'm away, you will see the market stats come up, and then I will be not present for a week. So make sure you ask any questions you have, and then I'll make sure to try to answer those next week. Bye, guys.